reflections on what we covered here. I would say I'll say a few words here, and then Vin, please jump in. I think the most difficult thing with governing agents is that it spans such a large range. It goes from a legal text that might be difficult to interpret to organizational measures, to individual technical measures on an agent, to live operations on an agent in production and back. That requires a multidisciplinary team in your organization, that requires expertise, and it requires tooling that can cover that entire range. Vin, what do you think about this challenge?
So one of the things that we really want to emphasize is the empathy that we have for somebody in your role. If you are responsible for governance of AI systems in your organization, you have an unenviable challenge. It's difficult. It's an ambiguous environment. It's changing really rapidly. And what you need fundamentally, what we've noticed is first executive mandate or some kind of organizational support for the work that you're doing. And we think that that's really critical because sort of ground uh, uh, efforts with point projects and point solutions often don't scale at the organization level, and you really need the organizational mandate. Second, you have to have the evidence to back up the value of this focus on governance and trustworthiness. And we've noticed that often this is either an afterthought, as security has been in the past, or it's often seen as a friction. It's that gap between the time that the agent developer has built an agent that they're delighted and proud of, and the time it takes for them to deploy it into production with these controls, with the governance, with the AppSec review and the operational readiness review. And that is considered friction. It's a process that delays. But it doesn't have to be. And part of the reason why the Modulo's Vigil platform is so effective is because it takes that friction away and reduces the time it takes to take an agent from prototype or good enough to production, where it is verifiable and validated with frameworks and controls that you can trace back to with real evidence that's measured from the agent in production. So we think that that's a really important benefit. So think of the one metric that Modulos and Vigil offer you as an optimization is time to trust. It's the time it takes for you to trust an agent in production. And we think that that's really critical. And finally, you could certainly do it yourself. Kevin said this before too. At a certain scale, you absolutely must begin to do this yourself because then you'll appreciate the complexity and the difficulty of doing this right at scale. And it's really when we, as the Visual Modulos platform, can step in to help you get to that next point and you understand the burden that we're carrying on your behalf. So with that, we're happy to take questions.